Week number 10. Okay, week number 10. Cool. Week number 10. Okay. So this video is sponsored by Squarespace, but I'll tell you more about them later. A big thing over the last 2 weeks, maybe 3, has been planning for the next drawing after these drawings have been finished, and that's been a lot of fun. It's been really cool to keep introducing play into the process, and a big part of the last 3 weeks actually has been planning for a new drawing, which I want to jump into straight after I finished these 2 eyes. This whole process can be extremely fulfilling. It's where a lot of the creative decisions get made in my works, but at the same time, there's also a lot of pressure to try and come up with something that I feel I won't lose passion over during the course of 2 months or so, because it takes so long for me to do these drawings. I need to be really sure about what I'm doing before I start. And so this planning process and the chewing on the concept and chewing on the composition has quite a lot of weight to it. And I think that makes it quite difficult for me to remember to be playful in these planning stages. So the last 3 weeks have been incredibly fun. There's been a lot of frustration and anxiety around needing to have something ready, but I'm feeling extremely excited about what's been happening. So my headspace has been all over the place a little bit. It's been working on 2 or 3 ideas that I'm really excited about. I think the first one that I started working on was this kind of membrane idea. So there's 2 parts to this. So the first part is a sculpture idea, which is going to be pretty ambitious, but it's getting there. So the planning process with the sheets and trying to light it dramatically from one side and have movement underneath and just see how the fabric interacts with the figure has been really interesting and a lot of fun. The fabric, when we first put it up, was also really creased and wrinkled, and because we're trying to get this harsh light from one side, it shows all those creases a lot. So I had to try and find a steamer and just steam the fabric to make it look all perfectly smooth and flat. It's like an endless amount of little problems that need solving for these kinds of shoots. There was a really interesting thing that was happening with the fabric almost vibrating as the figure moves. So the way that it was, I don't know what it was reacting to, the air or maybe even just the vibration of the fabric moving over the skin sent ripples through, which for a video piece, I'm actually really interested in pursuing as well. At first, I just used an older frame that didn't have any glass in it and put it on the floor, and then wanted the fabric to flow over the figure. And that didn't quite work out, or it didn't quite give me what I wanted. And then I tried to use a larger frame and stand behind it so that there was this silhouette and I can try and push through it. That also was okay, but my feet were getting chopped off, and then also I had to crouch behind the frame to try and fit my whole body in. So that led to us just deciding to build a frame, and that finally turned into something special. Once we'd constructed the larger frame, there was a whole new level of excitement, and exploring movements was really interesting as well, trying to see what might work. And I really enjoy using my body to try and think through poses and to try and see which direction it might go. Sometimes it goes into a really creepy direction and maybe we dial back, or it feels too ethereal or too lighthearted and doesn't really have the emotion that somehow is guiding this process. And then to try and find that middle ground of where the idea feels like it resonates properly and it has its path moving forwards. But using your body to think feels like a really wonderful tool with this kind of process. There's so many things that went wrong though, and so many variables that we had to change. So I was worried that the fabric we were using started to get a little bit dirty. And when I tried to replace it, I couldn't find fabric that had that level of opacity. These shoots ended up being way creepier than I thought they would be. A little bit too creepy for my liking, and I'm going to distill it a bit and try and refine it into something that I feel like I can use. Yeah, it feels like this idea still has a long way to go. One of the beautiful moments though was creating a little sunbird or a little hummingbird and using that as a prop within the shoot. And that went a long way in softening the entire composition. I think before it seemed extremely ominous and scary, and then introducing a small, beautiful, fragile animal was exactly what it needed. It's something that's needing a bit of time to develop further. And I think that that's one of the big things to remember is sometimes you'll spend so much time working on something and it doesn't yield the results that you're looking for, at least for that specific project or that period of time, but it's kind of banked in the back of your mind. And down the line, I've often found that I've made connections with old projects that at the time were failures or didn't work out the way I wanted them to, but they perfectly, like a puzzle piece, plug into something that I'm needing in the present time. So who knows what's going to happen with this silhouette idea, and I feel like there's something incredibly exciting there for me. It's a huge departure from the way that I work already. So the white background rather than the black background. I'm not sure what's going to happen there. I tried to not let it get to me that it was essentially a week or two of a lot of shooting and editing and trying to figure things out that kind of led to nothing. Then I've got this levitating bearing sculpture idea, which has been floating around my head for a long time. This series ties in really beautifully to the spinning rocks that I had in the studio at the end of last year. And the balance and precision and efficiency that I was trying to tap into with that sculpture. And I feel like this is a continuation of that. So I'm really excited about trying to create an extremely efficient flywheel out of an organic shape, and almost it being futile to try and balance this thing. But for now, it's just very much in its prototyping stage. And it's a lot of fun to try and get it to work really well. Trying to get it to be as efficient as possible is really difficult anyway. So I want to first go all the way there and then start introducing intentional challenges, like trying to balance a rock rather than a flywheel. But it speaks really beautifully to the body of work that I've been working on for the last while. And yeah, that's also basically a shelved floating idea that I'm not sure when it's going to mature and turn into a body of work. It's really wonderful to see different disciplines and different areas kind of seeding each other and cross-pollinating to create these stories that slowly start to unfold. But yeah, I'm really enjoying the technical side of it, and to be talking to engineers and trying to problem solve these like efficiency issues. I feel like it resonates very deeply with things that I'm struggling with and pursuing broadly in my life. So this series of work with the organic rocks and the efficiency and the almost Sisyphus pushing a rock up the mountain type, I suppose that archetype feels really exciting and really close to home for me. And yeah, I'm extremely excited to let that idea also get fully fledged. I'm just going to take a quick moment to thank this video sponsor, Squarespace. I've been working with them for a couple of years now, and they've played a huge role in my career, not only in sponsoring these videos and helping me maintain this channel, but early on in my career. I was looking for a way to showcase my work, and I didn't have time to learn HTML and try and build a reliable, beautiful website that made it easy for collectors to find me and get in touch with me. And I felt that Squarespace did that effortlessly. I never had to patch or upgrade anything. I could register a domain with them or set up an online store. And most importantly, I could design a portfolio and show my work the way that I wanted to. Also, every time I got stuck, their amazing support team helped me out instantly. So if you're looking at building a website, give Squarespace a try. And if you decide that you love them, use this offer code and get 10% off your first purchase. Yeah, there we go. I hope you found it interesting to kind of see the uncertainty and some of the issues with trying to plan a new series of drawings. I'm really keen to just keep bringing you along the journey of how these ideas slowly reach maturity and how they are formed through the creative process, or at least my specific creative process in the studio. I have a lot of fun, and I think it's quite nice to share that insight and to hear feedback from this community as well. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. I'll try to answer as many of them as possible, and leave a like if you found this video helpful. It helps the channel out in a huge way. So the one comment by CZ1239 is, do you have a course or approach that you would recommend for somebody looking to develop their hyperrealism with graphite skills? What would you do differently if you were to start over 10 to 15 years ago? So yes, I do have a course. I've just released it. It's with Domestika. You can buy that course on their website. They have this weird thing with like a subscription model, and if you want to subscribe to that, you can. I would recommend that you buy the course once off and then you have it forever. That course I'm really proud of, and I spent a lot of time last year working on that, and hopefully that's quite a comprehensive one for you. Then I think the part of that question, which is a lot, is what would I do differently if I were to start over 10 or 15 years ago? I think the time in which we're starting over plays a big part. It's a really tough one to say. I think I would have more seriously looked at going to art school as well. I couldn't afford it, and so it was really scary, and I didn't think of taking out student loans, but it's really tough to, with hindsight, look back on something like that and see how you'd potentially do it differently. I'm not sure. I have a lot of respect for the way that things have played out, and also it feels like there was a lot of serendipity and luck and things kind of aligning in a really strange way. So I don't know how I could do things differently, but to try and have a helpful answer for you, I think the thing that I did was I focused extremely sharply and intensely on one medium and on one kind of genre, and really tried to just break into a space using that. And I think that was part of that initial momentum that I built up. So a big part of that as well is to just create the work rather than to get caught up in trying to play the game of a career or try and appeal to the art world. Rather focus on your particular practice and create a large body of work. That's often just the hardest thing to do, and people procrastinate from doing that by becoming interested in how to market their work and how to approach galleries and stuff. So I think focus on the work. Okay, next question from AJ. How you make accurate guideline. I use the grid method. So I will measure out a grid of 2 centimeters over my reference or my final reference composition, and then I'll draw that grid onto my page using rulers for accuracy. And it's also something that I talk about in the course in more depth. It can get a little bit technical, but it's quite simple when you wrap your head around it. Will Jono settle, like get married? Is there a plan? Yeah, there's like a great, grand, sophisticated plan, which I'm not privy to yet. When a drawing doesn't go your way, what do you do to come back from it and fix it? This is a really tough one. Drawings often don't go the way that you plan, and there's a lot of struggle that can happen in that space. And I think to just actually sit in the discomfort and struggle through it, just keep trying, and often what you're doing is perpetuating it. You're damaging the paper, you're making it a bit muddy. It's happening now with one of my pieces, but I also know this part of the process, and it is just something that you do break through from. I think being open to making mistakes is an important part here. So letting something get ruined is unfortunately a risk that we have to take. There's experimental techniques that I've tried in the past that have really messed up my drawings, and I kind of just had to figure out a way to make it work. And that's part of creativity, is problem solving. I mean, I'd say that that's kind of the biggest part in a way. But yeah, I'm not sure if that's helpful advice. Okay, so here's another comment asking where to have copies or prints made. I don't think it's worth getting your own printer to do this. I think most cities and even towns will have someone who's kind of cashed in on this niche, which is to either find someone who can photograph artwork really well or to find a large flatbed scanner. Those are harder to find. Usually those are in big cities. And yeah, to have it professionally done, I think you need to approach this with a lot of respect and a lot of thinking around what it would do for your originals, if it could change the value of your originals or the way that people interact with your prints versus your originals. So in my case, I've been extremely cautious around releasing work. I've never wanted to put it onto t-shirts or to create merchandise or saturate any kind of market with it. So for me in particular, to try and keep it small and extremely high quality has been my focus. But that's also just the way that I wanted to do it. There's so many different ways to do it, but I think regardless, prioritizing the quality of the print and the quality of the scan or the original capture of your artwork is going to be extremely important, especially years down the line. Being able to look back with high quality imagery and documentation of your work is going to be invaluable. I think that's everything for what happened last week. This week's already taken a huge turn, and I'm really excited to share it as well. So if you haven't already, subscribe to keep up to date with how things are progressing in the studio. And yeah, thanks for the support. I'll see you guys in the next one.